Hi there, welcome to the Upcycle Design Lab. If you're new here, my name's Cindy and I craft using recycled and repurposed materials to give you ideas on ways to make and create more economically and ecologically. But today I'm doing something a little different. I thought I would step away from the tutorials for a moment and share my 5 top selling items that I've sold at in different venues. I do want to mention that I am not a seasoned or terribly serious craft seller. I focus more on the tutorials and the videos, but I have attended a couple of craft shows. I've sold some things online, and I've also sold in a consignment shop. So I thought I would just kind of highlight my top sellers for you. So craft shows, which you know if you've ever done one, take a lot of preparation to get ready for. They're kind of a roller coaster ride. If you're interested in more information on actually attending craft shows and preparing for a craft show, I did a whole series on the first craft show that I attended, which I will link to in the description. And then I did a quick recap video of my second craft show, which I will also link to. I also want to mention that I'm not going to be talking a lot about costing items or how much time the items take, because that is just such a nuanced kind of thing. I did do a video on it in my first craft show series, so you can check out more about how I did some of my costing if you'd like to look into that a little further. I will let you know at the bottom of the screen what I sold my items for, but that's just kind of a baseline because like I said, it's a very personal and nuanced thing to price your items. So as I mentioned, I'm going to be sharing my 5 top selling items, but stay tuned to the end because I'm also going to share 5 more items that I think could be good to make and sell. My first item is the fused glass jewelry, and to make these items I did use this little FuseWorks microwave kiln. It's just 2 little pieces. You put it in the microwave. It's got a fairly small working surface, so you can only fuse really small items. But I got this, I think you can find them online for around $60. This kit comes with most of the things you need, some heat resistant gloves. You might also want a bottle cutter, and then I have these little wheel cutters that I use to make my jewelry. So this is a great tool to get started if you're not familiar with fusing glass. It is fairly quick to do the fusing. The one downside is it takes quite a while. You have to let the kiln cool down for at least an hour before you take the piece out. So you do have to plan a lot of time between projects unless you have more than one kiln. This first piece is a really simple shape. It's just made from some green wine bottle glass and put on a piece of cording, and it's made for hanging around your neck and then just putting your glasses on. You can see it's a little bit rudimentary, and most of the things that I've made in my kiln are kind of rudimentary shapes, but I think the glass is really pretty and you can get some good results. This is a pretty simple little project. You can fuse these tiny little beads by just putting little tiny shards in your microwave kiln, and when they fuse they just kind of turn into half moon shapes. They're flat on the bottom, but they have nice little rounded shapes, and these were made by just gluing the pieces to a piece of, I think this was plastic milk carton or something like that. Here's another version of that where I just coiled up some wire and put the little fused pieces in the middle. You can also do some other fun things though. You can do with some impressions. Hopefully you can see that. I kind of highlighted it with some alcohol ink, but you can cut out shapes from the fusing paper and make impressions in the glass when you're fusing it. So that's just another fun thing that you can do with it. Here's a kind of mosaic earring set and pendant that I made. And one other thing you can do, again, they are sort of rudimentary when they come out, but you can make beads that you can actually string onto bracelets or necklaces. So this is just a fun tool to have in your arsenal, especially if you're a jewelry seller. You might want to give this glass fusing a try. This next item is the Dragonfly Christmas ornaments, and these did pretty well at my first craft show. They're very low cost to make. They don't take any really special tools or anything. The wings are made out of aluminum can, and I punched the holes with a thumbtack. The beads are made out of rolled magazine paper, and then I even salvaged the wire. So your raw material costs are very, very low. The labor is pretty high, I will say, but it was fun to sell these. They're kind of cute to hang on the tree or just set on a table somewhere. And you don't have to necessarily use them for Christmas. They could be kind of anytime, I guess. I did also do a new version of them, which I think is even better. These beads are actually made out of aluminum can as well, which adds a ton of time to the labor cost, but I think they turn out really pretty. And to save time on the labor, you could certainly use purchased beads or salvaged beads from old jewelry. So that's just an idea on how to make these a little less time consuming, but I think they turned out really pretty. If you're interested in the new version of the Dragonfly, I'm going to be doing that tutorial next, and I will link to the original tutorial in the description box. Project number 3 are my tin can ornaments. They're made from flattened and rusted pieces of tin can, and they also require just very simple tools. You need a good pair of tin snips and a hammer. And so again, the raw material costs are very low. I think I used some Dollar Tree twine to hang them. I used a little paint, some sequins, and glitter. So they are a little time consuming to cut out, and you do want to be careful because you are working with the tin cans and you do have some sharp edges. They're not terrible once you hammer them out, but you want to make sure you don't have any burrs or anything on them. And these I have sold some online and at my first craft show. So here's just a quick bonus tip for you on things to sell. I sold these at my first craft show. They're just, I call them grab bags. And basically I just put a bunch of stuff in here that I kind of wanted to get rid of. So I've got empty Altoid tins, some little plastic fish, a watch without the watch part in it anymore, a couple of those. If you have a big craft stash and there's some things that maybe you're never going to use, this might be an idea for that as well. You could put some of your extra craft supplies that you don't use into some little grab bags and try to get rid of those at some of the craft sales. You're not going to make your money back, but it was a good way to draw people in, and it kind of caught their attention for $5. So that's just a little bonus idea for you. So it's time for my top 2 sellers, and the runner-up is my tin can earrings. No fancy tools required. You just need some tin snips, hammer. I used a flathead screwdriver and some needle nose pliers to do some of the shaping, but all of these tools are very affordable. I sold a lot of these at my first craft show, and the fun thing is that you can just make lots of different sizes and play around with shaping them differently. I also added a little bit of engraving to some of mine. This is just to show you that these are all the same shape, but in some cases I folded them. In this case I left them flat. And on these, I kind of curved the pieces. These were shaped with my needle nose pliers. I just used kind of a teardrop shape and then rolled it into more of a cone. These are the earrings that I shaped with my flathead screwdriver. I just used it kind of to engrave the lines in there and shape the earring into more of a leaf shape. This was one of the most popular shapes, and I will say that when I doubled up the layers on them, they sold better. This was the other shape that was quite popular, and people definitely liked when I put 2 pieces together. All right, it's time for my number 1 seller, and hands down, it is these watch face earrings. I sold them really well at my first craft show. I've sold them at a little pop-up recycle show. I sold them at the consignment shop, and I've also sold quite a few on eBay as well. You don't need a lot of fancy tools. You need a few jewelry making tools, and you do need to have something that you can open watches with, and of course you need to find quite a few watches. The best place I've found is to look for watches on eBay and just search for watch lots if you're interested in doing this project. I haven't looked recently, but historically that is where I've found the most watches. You do need to be a little careful about how much you're paying for them, so you want to consider that into your cost. But you could also try estate sales. I've found them at thrift stores. If you keep your eye out, you can find a lot of different watches, and they are just fun because they come in such pretty colors and some fun variety of sizes, and it's fun to kind of match them up into the mismatched sets. My first bonus item is these little hoop earrings. They're very simple, and they're made just using the top little ring around the top of aluminum cans. But you don't have to just leave them plain. You can kind of jazz them up if you want to. Here's a pair that I added some beads and dangles to. This one I wrapped beads around the ring. These were wrapped with some cording, and just for fun I doubled up on some. And these are very silly, but I added some glitter and a little Hello Kitty charm to make these. So you can do all kinds of things with them once you have the basic ring. Next up are these aluminum can garden markers. They're just embossed with the names of the plants on them and then hooked onto some stakes with some rings. The only thing I will say is that if you do make these with the rings, you probably want to find some stainless steel rings. Mine rusted. These are markers that I've had in my yard all summer, so they do get a little wear and tear, but I think they turned out kind of cute, and you could sell them in little sets of 4 with popular herb names in them, or you could sell them singly. So that's another idea you could try. This next idea is a way to take some inexpensive Dollar Tree notebooks in any size you want and adding some embossed aluminum can covers to them. And if you want to do bigger covers, you can piece them together. So that's just another fun idea. This is my little wine cork reindeer family. So if you have a lot of extra wine corks, you might want to give this a try. I just thought they turned out really cute. They are a little bit fragile, so they might be tough to ship, but they could be fun for a Christmas show. Last up is, I don't know, you could count this as 4 ideas or just one, but it's some different takes I have on making jewelry from aluminum cans. So this first one is an embossed version, and I get a lot of questions about the rough edges of the aluminum, but these are finished edges, so they're very lightweight and they are not sharp at all. And then these could either be sold as sets or as single items. This first one is a giant sort of pendant bead made from the bottoms of the aluminum can, and then it's got alcohol ink on it for the color. And these 2 items are just some earrings, and you can also do bracelets made with beads that are made from the aluminum can as well. And if you're going to do that, you're definitely going to want a bead roller. I have this very inexpensive one that I use. So those are just some fun ways to use aluminum cans to make some different jewelry styles. So that does it for today's video. I hope you found some inspiration here today. If you'd like to know more about my first craft show experience, click or tap your screen now. Be sure to check the description box for links to all the tutorials. If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, I'd love to have you subscribe. Check the bell icon so you can select your notification preferences. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you back here soon in the lab for my next experiment.